Hello, this is Jo Roberts, design team member for CreateAlong.com. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial for the Bead Bounty subscription box. Our clays today are going to be metallic pearl, the opal green, turquoise, and metallic gold. So we're going to condition those very, very well and roll out the pearl and the green to a setting 6 on my atlas. For the gold and the turquoise, we're going to do a Skinner blend. So I only need about half of what I've got here, so I'm going to get rid of about half of that. And we're just going to do a standard Skinner blend. Cut those at a diagonal, leave a little square at one end so that we'll get a little bit of the pure gold and pure turquoise when we do the actual, when we get the Skinner blend done. So here is the Skinner blend, and it is rolled out to a 6 as well. So what we're going to be doing here is I don't know if this has ever been done before, but it's just something I kind of made up. It is a kind of a controlled marbling technique. It's nothing fancy or anything. It's just sometimes I love marbling, but sometimes I want something that's a little bit more controlled. So do it this way. So what I'm doing is obviously taking the pearl white, or the pearl, metallic pearl, and the opal green, and cutting it in strips of like a quarter to a half an inch. And then I'm taking the the opal green, and putting it on top of the pearl. And then I'm just pressing the opal green into the pearl with a medium-sized dotting tool. There's no rhyme or reason to. This is not a, doesn't have to be done in a specific way. You're just attaching it. So we'll do another strip here. If you wanted to be exact about it, I would say the dotting tool needed to be slightly smaller than the strip that you're using, because you want to create a kind of a cupping effect there. So now I'm going to cut the same, approximately the same size strips of the Skinner blend and put it on top of that. And as you can see, my Skinner blend isn't wide enough, so I'll be cutting 2 and putting the turquoise in the middle. That's just the way I'm doing it this time, having the turquoise in the middle. And then doing the same thing, pressing the clay across the top so that 3 layers are pressed in together. Then what I'm doing is kind of pulling the clay in on top of itself, more so the green, the metallic green, and the Skinner blend layer, and leaving the white down, but they all kind of get cupped together, and then spiraling the whole thing together and then pushing it together so that it's all attached. Creates a little rosette. So it's very pretty. So that's the start of it. So we'll do another one here. So lay down a strip of the Skinner blend, and then also another strip for the turquoise in the middle. Again, doesn't have to be that way, but that's the way we're doing it this time. Press it in together, release it from the countertop, cup it, kind of push it all together, and then spiral it in on itself. And if the clay cracks while you're doing this, it's not a problem. So I did that 6 times. I did 3 to where the turquoise was on the ends, and 3 where the gold was on the ends. So then I'm just attaching them together here and rolling them and putting them through the clay machine, and then making sure they're all attached nicely. And I'm going to keep doing this and doing this until I get it down to a number 6 on the clay machine. And that is our veneer. Well, that's the beginning of it. That's our marble. Okay, now we're going to put it on the backing. Now, this goes to show how does not have to be accurate here, because it didn't fit on my backing. I obviously didn't want that weird shape. So now I'm just cutting off what didn't fit and just making it fit onto the square that is my backing. And just creating like a little jigsaw here. Just cutting off those pieces and finding where it all fits. And I love the way you still have your spiral even if when you're cutting it like this. And on some spirals you've got that gold that is the dominant color. Some of them it is the turquoise, and some of it is the blend of the two. And then of course the white is always, or the pearl is always there. So there it is. So now we're going to take this and roll it down to a number 6. So our first actual veneer is going to be a silkscreen. So we're going to use the Brilliant Beadwork silkscreen that was in the box, the Beaded Bounty box. We're going to roll it down and attach it with our acrylic roller. And the paint we're going to use is actually a Delusions paint by Ranger, and it's called Vibrant Turquoise. This paint worked really, really well for a silkscreen. I loved the container because it was really wide, so it's really easy to get the squeegee inside of the container and to get the excess paint back into the container. So it was great for that. It washed up on the silkscreen really, really well, which is so important. So there you can see how well it worked. And of course now you want to take that silkscreen and get it washed up so it's ready for next time. So really recommend this paint for. Now for our next veneer, we're going to be using the stencil, the native beadwork stencil. But underneath it, we're going to use the gold metallic foil that's also available from CreateAlong.com. So I'm attaching it to the clay here, cutting off any excess, so when I'm using my burnishing tool, it doesn't get hung up on the clay. So I'm using for my burnishing tool a 2x2 acrylic block. So this foil is not your average metal leaf. It is a foil that attaches to the clay by heat and friction. So you can burnish it on with a number of things. I've seen people use I've seen them use like doorknobs. I've seen them use credit cards, variety of things. But the point is to do it really fast so you create friction, and and heat. And then once you've got it down, once you've burnished it down, there is a mylar film on top of the actual foil, and you're going to pull that back really fast and pull it off like a band-aid and rip it like that. And it will leave the foil down on the clay, and the film will come off, obviously. If it all doesn't come off, you can put the film back down, reburnish it, and keep doing that until all of the foil comes off. Now, I quit here because I'm lazy and just done with it, and decided to go on to my stencil. So I'm attaching my stencil here with my acrylic roller. I want to get that really, really well embedded. The technique we're going to be using here, this time is one that I saw Ilsa do on one of her tutorials, and I loved it. I've done it several times, and I really enjoy it. It creates a really beautiful, really beautiful jewelry. If you've never done it before, would probably not recommend you doing it for this stencil. This is not a good stencil to learn on. What you will need is a stencil that has for a new, if you've never done it before, I would recommend a stencil with wider openings. And you need a very sharp tissue blade. What you're doing is you're slicing off everything that is not underneath the stencil. And when you're doing this, you have to be careful that you do not cut your stencil. Fortunately, no stencils were harmed in the making of this video, so I did not cut mine. I have this sped up quite a bit. I did not do this fast. I will tell you that doing this entire stencil with this technique took me, I believe, about 45 minutes. And I've done this quite a few times, so that kind of gives you an idea. You do not have to do it with foil with this product. You could do it with regular metal leaf. You could do it with mica powder. Just be cognizant that if you do it with mica powder, your stencil probably will not stick, because it'll be like a resist. So we'll pull the stencil off, and there it is. So pretty. So we're going to take it off the counter. I'll show it to you here real quick. Isn't it pretty? So here are our two veneers. It's amazing. Same marble underneath, two different surface treatments on top. Get a totally different look. So now we're going to work on a couple of projects. So I'm going to take this deco disc and put some mica powder on it, and I have no idea why I'm using so much mica powder here. I drowned this thing. You do not need this much mica powder. So you need to get a good impression here. So really strong pressure from your roller here. Believe it or not, there is a good impression under there, if you could see it. And then I put more on. Oh my god. So do it again. what I'm doing here is creating a backing. So I'm going to pull that up and bring over our stencil veneer and put it on and press it on gently, and then we're going to use the roller, and I am not pressing very hard on this because I do not want to lose my texture. So just gently, gently, gently pushing that on there just to get a good attachment and no air bubbles. So that backing was rolled out to a number 2. So our veneers are at a number 6, and the backing was at a 2. So I'm just using a little ruler I keep on my desk here, my workstation, to give me a shape. Because what we are creating here are a couple of just simple bracelets. So just freehand cutting something. Just that is so crooked, but straighten it up here and release them gently from the countertop, and there they are. So I'm using a cutter from a leather kit, just a little over cutter, to put holes on each end of these, and bring it over our knitting tool to get inside of those ovals and smooth the clay down. Make sure they're even and centered, and cut that one as well. And do the same thing for the other one, and then I'm going to bend them over a glass jar here that's the right size. Now, because they have mica powder on the back of them, they're not going to want to stick to that glass, but just keep working with it and it'll be fine. Now, with the pieces that were left over from the ends of that, I decided would make really cute free cut earrings, so that's what I'm doing here. I won't show you the whole process because I spent way more time than I should have to just create just regular triangle or rectangle earrings, but that's what they ended up being. So we have this entire veneer, a whole bunch left to make things. But let's move over to the other one. So we've got our Skinner blend here, what's left over from it, and our veneer. So I decided I really liked the two of them together, but it needed some separation there. So I think this gold strip between the two of them would be really nice. So I'm going to use the Deco Disc again, and it should have enough release on it still. So I'm just pushing that in and making sure I get an even impression all the way across, and then using my detail blade to make it even all the way across. On both sides. Then I'm going to attach that to the veneer really well as I can at this point with my blade, and then attach the Skinner blend. Now, what the area of the Skinner blend I'm trying to get is where it actually blends. I want that transition. So I'm using an acrylic block to get a good even pressure on my cutter. Tear the two sides of the clay off, and I get a nice little pendant there. So it ended up doing another element on here before it's over, but that's the main part of that. Now we're going to use the tribal. I called this the tribal shield cutters. They're actually the tribal shell cutters. My apologies. And I cut them out of the same veneer. Now I want to create a gold band across each one of these. So I'm cutting out even strips to attach all the way around each one of these. Now you'll see I end up getting a pulling out a block, a tile to work on, which I should have done from the beginning, because when you're working on something like this that you have to constantly be moving around, it's much easier to have it on a tile. And that way you're moving the tile and not the piece itself, and you're not trying to contort your body around. So just a little tip there. So now I'm using my blade to help attach that strip of clay to the actual veneer cutouts. And another strip for the top. Now, if you don't, when you cut your pieces, when I first did this, I was always so paranoid that what if my pieces aren't the same width, that's going to look really odd. As long as you get them close, you can stretch your clay. Obviously, if you get it too narrow, then you have to recut. But if you get it a little wide, if you pull the clay gently, clay stretches, and if you pull it gently, you can narrow it down to get it, and it'll be fine. It'll stretch. You don't have to keep recutting it. It'll be fine, and it looks just fine. So I did the other two pieces the exact same way. After you cut out all the other pieces that you're wanting to create, you will put them in the oven to cure at the manufacturer's time and temperature. Here are two of my pieces. The beauty of this particular technique is that it looks really good matte, as you can see here, or with a resin coating, as you'll see on some of my other pieces. Now I want to show you all the pieces that we got from our two veneers. First we have the studs that we were just talking about. Next are the tray elements. We've got two trays, one rectangle, one circle, and a ring. All three of these are covered with resin. Next we have the circle pendant. It has resin at the top and the rest of it is matte. Next we have some pieces that were cut with just different shapes from the CreateAlong collections. And finally, these are all matte. They're the two bracelets and the earrings that we did together. And finally, we have the tribal shell set, and they are all covered with resin. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial from the Bead Bounty CreateAlong monthly subscription box. Thank you for joining me. Bye.